All right, Tim. It looks like we're live for MMBBA Live. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yep. And so, ladies and gentlemen, bear with us. This is our first event. I think the first of its sorts for the Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers Association. And I must admit, we did have a little technical difficulty, but we are here on this bright Thursday morning. And I'm Sean Williams, and I'm the uh, 2026 president for the Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers Association. And with me today, my co-host today is Tim Goff. So welcome. And before we get started, I wanted to, just tell a little teeny bit about, kind of how we got started with this. We were
Sure.
in a board meeting, and Tim, as you know, we're always talking about, how do we get our messaging out, and how do we, get more people to learn more about MMBBA Live. We do, uh, a lot of the social media posts, and we have events and such. And so this was really a great opportunity for us to get out there to like have people like enter and listen to more about some of the things that we're working on with the organization, but also invite our members to be guests and folks within the industry to be a part of this. And so this is what we came up with. It's going to evolve. It's going to get better. And I just like have the pleasure of having you on for the first guest. And so, Tim, what I'd ask you to do is tell us who you are, what you do, and the $1 million part of this whole thing is for you to tell us a fun fact about yourself that we don't already know, but we should know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here to kick this MMBBA live off, the first episode. It's important that we get our message out as to what we do in the industry and how we help the industry. I'm Tim Goff. I'm the CEO of Bay Capital Mortgage, an independent mortgage banker headquartered in Annapolis, Maryland. We're licensed in 14 states. I have celebrated 40 years in the industry, and I came up on the production side of the business. As far as a fun fact about me, well, not a lot of people know this. I don't typically kick this one around, but as an adolescent, I was in a boxing program for the Lanham Boys Club, and I actually fought on a fight card with Sugar Ray Leonard. I didn't fight Sugar Ray Leonard, but I was on the same fight card that Sugar Ray Leonard fought on.
That would you have been able to fight him? Like, would there have ever been a time where you had to fight him?
No, he was I think 4 years older than me. He
Okay.
did fight this particular card that I fought on the same time he did. He did fight a young guy in our boys club, Billy Tuttle, who was a really good fighter, and his dad, Truman Tuttle, actually went to the Olympics with Sugar Ray as a coach on the coaching team. He was our coach at Atlanta Boys Club, but he did assist on the Olympic boxing team.
Oh wow. So all this time that I've known you, there's many reasons why I'm so happy that you're on my team. But even more now, knowing that you got hands, Tim, and you're a boxer. It's good. It's good to have you around.
Well, if I told you how short my boxing career was, you might think otherwise.
No, that's a really cool fun fact. I promise you, I wouldn't have known that about you. And it's also really cool that Sugar Ray Leonard was
Yeah,
a part of that because I mean, even as a little kid, all the way up until an adult, he continued to box, and
yeah. He was he was a
that's really
local
cool.
guy. He boxed for Palmer Park, the
Yep.
Palmer Park Boys Club. I was at the Lanham Boys Club, and even at that age, I think 10 or 11. He was about 14, if I remember at the time. Even then, he wasn't Sugar Ray at that point, but we all knew who he was. I mean, he was a very good boxer from a very young age.
Oh wow, wow. And so, I've already kind of talked about like why we decided to launch this MMBBA Live and the gaps that it fills, for our members. And with that said, I actually would like to I need to shout out three members: CIC Credit, Bay Capital, and CMG Home Loans for being media sponsors for this MMBBA Live. We appreciate that. But just looking forward to continuing to have folks on. We'll be doing this 3 times a month. So the only days that we won't do it are the days that we actually have our board meetings on Thursdays. But the goal is to do it every Thursday at 10 a.m. And we'll have new content for you each week. And so, Tim, with what we're talking about today, can you share like what originally like motivated you to get involved with the MMBBA? What's kept you engaged over the years?
Yeah. Well, many years ago, I had a mentor in the mortgage business, a gentleman named Paul Reed, who was the president of my company back. This was in the late 80s, early 90s, 1990s. And he was very involved in the national MBA, and he ended up becoming president of the MBA for a period of years. And I had talked to him about advancing my career. I was in production as a loan officer, and I wanted to take the next step. And he introduced me to the opportunities within the national MBA, including the CMB program. He was instrumental in creating the CMB program, and he said that it would be a really good exposure for me to learn more of the business. So that I started at the national MBA in participating. My company, a couple of years later, was headquartered over in Rockville, and I got involved in the Metro Washington MBA. And the more I was involved, the more I realized how valuable it was to our industry. The association was to our industry, but also how valuable it was in what I was receiving from it. The fellowship, the advocacy, the education. And I realized how important it was. So I served on the Metro Washington board. A few years later, I moved my company to Annapolis headquarters and was more focused, specifically here in Maryland. So I joined the Maryland Mortgage Bankers at that time and served on the board for probably 3 or 4 years, and then came back on the board around 2015, 16. It's just, as I said, the advocacy, the fellowship among members in the industry, and the education opportunities. If you treat this business as your career, being involved in the association is essential.
Yeah, you've been really active in that, and so we didn't even talk about it, Tim. But you're the immediate past president. You passed the torch on along to me. Each year there's a new president for the organization, and like from your perspective as the immediate past president, what are some of the key like wins or lessons that have helped shape the MMBBA since you've been involved in that particular leadership role?
Well, I think keeping the industry informed on what's important to us, more specifically at the state level here in Maryland, but what's nice about where we're located, Sean, is that National MBA is in our backyard, and they're extremely helpful in supporting us and bringing awareness to us of what's going on around the country. So that it may be things that haven't yet hit here in the Maryland market, but they see things that are happening in all 50 states. So what's really important, I think, is understanding. I'm a little partial to the legislative aspect of things because I've been involved on the legislative side, and living and working in Annapolis, it's here in my backyard. But if you see what goes on in Annapolis during the session, if we didn't have a voice there, it could be a real concern for the mortgage industry. And I've started to be exposed to that about 10, 12 years ago when I got on the legislative committee.
Yeah, we're actually going to touch bases on that in a second. But like as it relates to legislative, like, can you think of any wins that we benefited from in the industry by way of like some of the efforts that we've had with the MMBBA legislative efforts?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. A lot of people think that when you lobby in the Capitol, whether at the state Capitol or in DC, that you're always playing defense. You're always trying to say, no, that's going to hurt our industry. But really, as many times as we are playing defense, we do play offense as well. I'll give you an example. Years ago, before NMLS was in effect in all 50 states, Maryland had a loan officer licensing law in place that was not only did we support, we brought the bill to the state. We felt that it was important, that we represent the industry properly. And as a result, we worked with the legislature to create the Maryland licensing laws. Now, when NMLS came in, it kind of superseded it, and Maryland kind of rolled into NMLS. So that original Maryland license was really advocated by us. The second one I'll bring up that could have really been catastrophic was last year, 2025. There was a court case in Maryland where a judge made a ruling that a passive trust needed to be licensed in order to hold mortgages. Now, this is securities when loans are being sold in the secondary market. Without getting too far in the weeds, these passive trusts do nothing but hold the mortgages. Okay, they don't have any employees, they don't have any net worth, they don't have any of the requirements that Maryland requires to hold a license. It's just a passive trust that holds ownership. And with this court ruling, the Maryland Financial Commissioner had to write regulations to license trust. Well, what happened was, and many of you may remember this, but last January and February, a number of jumbo investors and a number of non-QM investors stopped lending in Maryland. And if they didn't stop lending, they increased their pricing. One of the non-QM lenders put a 4-point hit on all non-QM loans that were originated on Maryland properties. It was because of this court ruling. Well, we were very instrumental with the support of National MBA and a number of other associations that were affected, the bankers, the securitization folks. We were able to shepherd a bill through the legislature under emergency legislation and get it passed so that by April of last year, that was corrected and the law exempted passive trust for licensing. So that was a big win. That would have been a really big problem if we didn't get that win.
Yeah, and then we've had some of the highest home equity that we've ever seen, and it also like HELOCs were halted too as well. Like folks, based on that,
you're right. The HELOCs
ensnared.
The
HELOCs were that got snagged, and some folks really needed to get those funds, as did everybody. Like with the other, with the jumbo and some of the non-QM stuff. But I really remember how HELOCs were affected for a short period of time.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, and so with those efforts, like if we wouldn't have caught it and kind of advocated for it, we would have been in a world of hurt because the home prices were continuing to go up. The need to have these non-QM products are necessary in the market, specifically these days. And so if that wouldn't have happened, it would have been detrimental to Maryland real estate. Yeah,
and one other thing on that particular situation, what was very positive on our light is that the financial commissioner actually turned to us and said, we understand this needs to be fixed. You need to bring us the solution, which is a really nice place to be, that the financial commissioner asked the Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers Association to be involved in fixing a problem in the industry.
Yeah,
our voice is heard.
Awesome.
Yeah, our voice is definitely heard in Annapolis.
For sure. Yeah, that's it. Those are two key wins, definitely. And so, Tim, people are asking me, and I even when it was announced that obviously I gotten on the ladder and then eventually would become the president of the organization. Folks are asking what are some of your priorities going to be? And so for 2026. I just try to focus on three things that are obviously important to a lot of people, but super important to me that I'll focus on. And so one of the biggest things is enhancing awareness and maintaining but growing our membership. Definitely maintaining the membership, but membership growth. But it's all based around awareness, like things like this. And you mentioned earlier about going on offense, obviously going offense on the legislative piece, but like in regards to interacting with the membership, growing the awareness, crossing tables and working with other organizations that we haven't before. I think that's going to be something important that we focus on. Number two is legislative. Like y'all are the gurus at that. I do not profess to be that, but want to have a more active role in it. But the biggest thing, like as it relates to awareness and the membership growth, people really need to understand and know how much effort we put into the advocacy part, how much effort we put into legislative. At least for the last 25 years, I think it is, we've had a full-time lobbyist
Yes.
and an attorney that have poured into helping us with this. And we spent, a lot of time, energy, and effort and built some key relationships in the state of Maryland to make sure that we're continuing to advocate for our members, but not only that, for the consumers that we serve in the state of Maryland. So the legislative piece is huge. And going with that awareness is, I just really think people need to understand what that means and how it affects our industry. And like in regards to the membership aspect of it, like that alone is worth its weight in gold, because there's Brendan always talks about some wins in which we've helped some loan officers to be able to retain their earnings,
Right.
as it relates to refinances. There was a
And
bill.
I think one of our, I hate to put a spotlight on it, but one of our weaknesses is I'm not sure that we have effectively communicated what we are doing to represent the industry. And when this concept of MMBBA Live was floated and you spearheaded this, I thought it was a great idea, because it's a platform where we can let our membership and the consumer know what the industry, what the association is doing to aid our industry.
Yes, for sure. And that's what we're going to do. So, each month we're going to have someone that is a part of our legislative team, because we have a full-time committee, and they're going to talk and give updates about this as well. So, for sure. And then the third thing that we'll be focused on this year will be next generation. Like,
Right.
how do we engage new people into the industry? How do we take, some of the younger leaders and the people that are in the industry that don't have as much experience, and help them get better at what they're doing, or
Right.
to make them aware of opportunities within the industry. We often talk about how do we reach out to college students, or high schools and such, to let them know, because I don't know about you, Tim, but I wouldn't have said that I dreamed about being in the mortgage industry
No, I
when
didn't either.
when I went to college. Like I didn't know that there was such a thing as a loan officer. Um, and so we look up, and you have a career in a few decades, and same with me, been in this industry for a while, and it's been good to us, and we've helped a lot of people. And so, but there's more avenues inside our industry besides being a loan officer. And so I'd love to have people be more aware of that too as well. So, like I said, just brand awareness, membership and growth would be the one. Legislative is key, and then lastly, the next generation. And so those would be the three
What's nice
things.
about where we are as an association is we have an AI summit coming up later this month. I don't know the exact date. If you want information on it, it's at mmBBA.org. But last year's AI summit, which was run by the young mortgage professionals, they are running it again this year, was our largest attended event. So having participation with the young mortgage professionals was a hallmark of my time as president, and you feel the same way. And it seems like they really are making a difference and bringing some real value to the industry. So I think the old salts here in the business need to do more of a job of bringing more young professionals into the industry, because they do a phenomenal job.
Thank you for eloquently saying that, the old salts, because I was trying to figure out how to say it. I have a milestone birthday that's going on this year, and so I feel like I'm a part of that. But the AI Summit is the 25th of
There you go.
25th of March, and it will be in Lithicum Heights, so Baltimore. Uh, that's Lithicum Heights is Baltimore, right? That we wouldn't
Yep.
consider
Yeah.
that
Right near
Baltimore.
the airport, right near
Yeah,
BWI Airport.
yeah, near the airport, and it's going to be at noon. But as Tim mentioned, you can go on our website, look under events to register, and it's free. I was actually on the call yesterday at one of the planning meetings for the young mortgage professionals, and I gave them a compliment last night. That was actually one of the most efficient meetings, the most well-run meeting I've attended. They were sharp. They were on it. They knew exactly what was going on, who was doing what, how it was going to get accomplished, and so kudos to them for running a great meeting and putting together an amazing event.
Last year, there
Um,
was over 200 attendees at the summit. I don't know where we are this year.
oh, they've already had they had to shut it off, so they've already had 200 register,
There you
and we're
go.
going to try to open it up for up to another 50 people. Because there'll be some attrition, folks, especially because it's free. People will
Right.
register and maybe not attend, but we're going to open it up to 50 more registrants, and it's a
Awesome.
really cool lineup of folks that are going to be speaking and being involved. And as you know, like AI is evolving, and it's
I'm looking
going
forward to it.
fast.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going really fast, and so there's people that are really interested and active in trying to figure out how it works, and understanding it better. So yeah, the 25th will be that. And so Tim, like this platform, right, that we having now, that we're working on. And again, thank you for all of your support, and your presidency. You did a wonderful job. I tell you that all the time. It's tough to come
Thank you.
behind you, and we say that every year though. Like you said the same thing about Malcolm, and I'm saying the same thing about you. Like it's important and we care about this, but like
Right.
like this platform, right? How do you see it like strengthening like our advocacy? You touched on it, and professional development and like membership development, like this platform that we're building with
Well, I think
MMBB.
getting our word out. This is I think a really good way to get the word out about who we are, what we do, and how we can help. And I hopefully it will spur additional participation. Folks get involved. We may have some members that they pay dues and they show up at an event or two, but they may hear something in this MMBBA live that might generate their feeling of I need to be there. I need to be a part of that. And whether it's education, advocacy, legislative, whatever that may be, um, you know this voice of MMBBA Live hopefully will add additional participation, which just makes our industry that much stronger.
Yeah, that's right. And we I know I do. I take for granted that, like, honestly, not everybody knows about this organization and what we do. I just take for granted because I've been involved in it for so long, um, and attending the events and such. So I was even talking to a title company yesterday that really didn't know that there was a state trade association, for mortgage professionals, right? That they should be, actively involved in, and didn't know. And then I was telling them about what we're doing here, with this format, and they wanted to be a part of it.
Awesome.
And so that, like, these are things that we kind of take for granted, that
Right.
people automatically know what we're doing here. And so I'm real excited to show up every week, to do this. And, again, I'm just grateful and, thankful for everybody that's involved. And so as we wrap up, just like maybe one or two more questions and then we'll close.
Okay.
Um, so I guess we talked about advocacy, and legislative and the things that we're doing. We talked about some of the awareness stuff and member benefits. Like, uh, what should mortgage professionals be paying attention to this year in your mind? Like, what should we be paying attention to, professionals in Maryland?
Um, I think again, my focus is in Annapolis when I answer that question.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's why I asked
right
you
now,
because I need that.
we're
I need
we're
you.
in the legislative session, and right now, the most important thing is the state budget. I'm sure everyone has heard about the deficit that the state's running. It looks like the legislature is working with the governor to come up with a solution where they're not raising taxes. It remains to be seen exactly how it's going to shake out, but it looks like they've got some ideas that will not, crush business and also not crush the residents of Maryland. So stay tuned on that. But one of the things that is really important to our industry in that conversation is the funding of the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, who runs the Maryland Mortgage Program. Many of our members are participating in that program. We were fortunate enough to be asked to testify in favor of that budget. We testified in front of both the House and the Senate. And it looks like they're going to get funded at the full level that they've requested. The other thing that's going on right now is the governor, right behind the budget, the governor's working on an initiative to attack the housing shortage, housing supply, and housing affordability crisis that we're witnessing here in Maryland. And there's a couple of bills that we've gotten behind and are supporting that would essentially require the counties to not make more restrictive lot setbacks than the minimum in this bill. I don't remember exactly what it is. And also not make minimum square footage requirements of homes higher than some particular number. I think it's 500 or 600 square feet. But what they're trying to do is increase housing supply, and at a level where it's not increasing the cost to generate that housing supply. And those are a couple of bills that we've gotten behind and are supporting the governor's efforts on it. It's just paying attention to at a national level what we're doing as an industry to make sure that we're prepared for whatever is thrown at us. The interest rate environment, regulation, things of that nature. It's important that the industry be out in front, because it certainly appears that 2026 is setting up to be a pretty busy year compared to what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. And that's at least that's what I'm hearing from a lot of folks in the industry. We're feeling it in our company, and we're excited about 2026.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. The affordability that's a tough one, and that's what lots of people are trying to figure out and working through. So I'm anxious and interested to see how that's going to play out and how some of these things are going to affect it. And so as we mentioned, Tim, we want to try to keep this thing around 30 minutes or so. We're almost there, and so on a weekly basis we'll be doing this. And man, you're the very first guest that we've had, I guess.
I'm honored that I was on the first episode.
Yeah, the very first episode. And next week, I think we have Steve Richmond, who's been pretty big in our industry, like in regards to training folks on technology and such, and just building some unique ways for people to work through the mortgage industry. So just really excited about having Steve on next week. I think he's next week. But before we part today, like, is there anything that you think I missed or we wanted to add before we stop the live?
Well, I just think I would just remind folks, if you heard anything here today that sparks an interest, that you would like to get more involved than you are, please spend a little time on MMBBA.org. You can see the various things that we're involved in as an association. If you have any questions or you'd like to raise your hand, you can email Danielle Becker or Jennifer Colwell at info@mmbba.org, and they'd be happy to get that information to you. But I urge you, it's been a hallmark of my career to be involved in the MBA, and you'll get as much back, if not more, than what you put into it.
Yeah, thank you. And so, Tim, your insights, is what separates like great professionals from the rest. It's really valuable to our industry, and especially as it evolves. And so, like Tim mentioned, to everybody watching, we hope we gave you some practical information that you can take back to your teams and even the consumers that are watching this that understands, what's going on. And if you found this to be helpful, follow MMBBA, Maryland Mortgage Bankers and Brokers Association on LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel that we're working on growing. So this will also be simulcast to the YouTube channel. And then share this episode. You can rewatch it at your leisure. And don't forget, next week we'll be back with another episode. And thanks again for tuning in. And I'm Sean Williams, president of MMBBA. And we'll see you next Thursday on MMBBA Live. And so everybody enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend. And thanks again, Tim. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much.